Hello, we've made it to Yin Yoga Day in the April Movement Challenge. Thank you so much for still being here today. This is a practice that everyone likes. We're going to get started right away. We have 4 poses: child's pose, sphinx pose, banana pose, and bound angle pose. So we'll get started with child's pose. You have the option of doing it with your legs wide or keeping them close. Depending on how you do it, you'll target different tissues. So with the legs a little bit more open, you'll target into the pelvis, the adductors, into the quadriceps and the knees a little bit more, into your low back as well. And if you do it with your legs close, you'll put a little bit more attention on the low back and not so much on the other tissues. So it's your choice. As always, have props nearby. You can use yoga blocks or pillows, blankets, cushions, anything you have in hand to support you in these poses and either increase or decrease the sensations. Let's go with child's pose. So as it is, without any props, you can either keep your legs together like this and then walk your hands forward until your forehead comes to the floor. And you can either keep your arms out like this, or you can place them right by your sides. So this is variation number 1. You may choose to spread your legs a little bit. If you do this version, it might take you a couple of tries to find the angle that works for you here. So take your time. But same thing, walk your hands forward, forehead to the ground. With this one, I do recommend you keep your arms in front of you. If it puts tension on your shoulders and it doesn't feel great, then you can bend them and then support your forehead like this. You can also, this is where we get into propping. If the floor is too far from you, you can place a prop right in between, like a bolster, a pillow, or anything that can give you the lift that you need to get into that pose more comfortably. You might just need to turn your head to one side. You can also place it between your glutes and your heels if you have too much flexion on your knees. You can put a pillow there and in front of you as well. Basically, wherever you feel that you need a prop, that's where you'll put it. If this is too uncomfortable for your heels, for your feet, you can keep your knees tucked under, although it won't be the same. You can roll a small hand towel and put it between the front of your ankles and the floor, just to give you a little bit of space in there. So find the variation that works for you and prop as necessary. So take your time getting there. And remember that with Yin Yoga, we're not chasing any sensations. We're not looking to feel a stretch in any part of us. We can feel a stretch-like sensation. We can feel some compression or pinching, torsion. Those are all okay sensations as long as, on a scale from 0 to 10, they stay at about a 3, a 4, maybe even a 5, depending. But if they start to take away from the integrity of the pose, then it's best to come out and try the pose with some props, or take away some props, or find a different variation. In Yin Yoga, the poses are held for 3 minutes or more. However, you know your body, you know its limits, so you don't have to stay here for 3 minutes. Listen to it, and when you're ready to come out of the pose, you do so very slowly. We also play our edge in Yin Yoga, which means that when you find the variation of the pose that targets the tissues we intend to target with that pose, you make sure that it's a sensation that is comfortable to sustain for this prolonged period of time. That's why propping is so important, and that's why it's so important to take your time to find the variation that works for you. Because once you're in the pose, you really don't want to wiggle or shift too much. And once you've been in the pose for some time, you might feel that initial sensation has dissipated. So that's where you get to play the edge and fold a little more, twist a little more, remove a prop, or add a prop, until you find that sensation once again.
That's working through the layers of fascia. And we work to hydrate the fascia. So in this pose, we are compressing the hips and the knees. So we're squeezing out all that gunk out of that fascia, all the debris and all the lactic acid and all the stuff that gets accumulated in between those fibers that can make us sore and achy. We're wringing that out. And then with the following pose, we will hydrate that fascia. So we open the hips and the knees. And it's like we're soaking that sponge into clean water. Use your hands and your arms to get you out of the pose. Use your breath. Take your time.
Very, very slowly come out of the pose. And let's transition into Sphinx. Now, Sphinx I've only done once in one of the live Yin Yoga sessions. So be careful with this one because it is a little bit of a back bend. So you come down on your belly. Spread your legs out so you have a good wide base of support there. Your pelvis is on the floor. Your lower belly is on the floor. Your arms are supporting you here, but you're not pushing into them. So the closer your arms are to your torso, the more bend you'll have in your low back. And the farther away they are from your torso, the less bend you will have. Don't collapse into your shoulders or your neck. Keep your shoulders back and down. Now you can use a little prop here if you need to help support your torso a little bit more and make this a little bit more comfortable. Just make sure it's something, pillowy, something soft. If you use something like blocks or a bolster, that might be a little too hard and it might actually push you up and give you more bend. So find the variation of this pose that works for you. If you do have some low back issues, disc injuries, skip this part and just do a Shavasana, so just go on your back and just rest comfortably for now. Otherwise, we'll be here for the next couple minutes. Always scan your body for unwanted sensations, which are tingling or burning. Make sure you're not holding any tension anywhere. Relax your shoulders, your jaw, your neck, your glutes, your belly, your quads, hamstrings. And let's come out of the pose very slowly. We're going to go on our backs. So just lower yourself all the way down. If you need to take a little break before we turn over, that's fine too. Very slowly turn over onto your back. And we'll do banana pose or half moon pose, whatever image you like better. So keep your legs like this. You'll lift and just tiny bit of movement towards the, well, in this case, my left side, so that I can straighten my legs in the diagonal, so they're going towards the right. Now, my hip didn't lift when I did that. If yours did, you probably shifted a little too much. So come back to center and then straighten your legs out into the diagonal. So with this pose, we'll target the side of the body. With the legs facing towards the right, you have that bottom half of the banana or the half moon shape. So ask yourself, scan yourself, and see how you feel. Is this giving you enough sensation into the IT band, the hip, maybe the hip flexors? If not, then you can bend your torso towards the right side as well. So you're not twisting, you're bending to create that half moon shape or that banana shape. Shifting your torso should have increased the sensation a little bit. Your arms can then rest by your side or out into a T, or you can bring them overhead, maybe grab the wrist of the
the arm that's working right now. Now you have an opening on the side of your body from ankles into the arm. And again, scan yourself and ask, what sensations am I feeling? If you find that you're maybe holding tension in your glute or your quad, the outside leg, and you let it go and all of a sudden the sensations are too much, then you probably bent too far. So just shift yourself a little bit out of the pose. So rest here. Again, your breathing should be easy. You're not trying to breathe deeply, but you also don't want it to be shallow. And again, as you hold the pose, those initial sensations may start to dissipate. So always go back to that sensation scale and see where you are. Maybe you started at a 5 and maybe a minute or so into the pose, you realize you're at a 3 or a 2 or even a 1. So see if you can play your edge by either bending a little bit more, so creating a more pronounced half moon or banana shape, or you can place the outside leg on top of the inside leg. That should give you a little bit more opening on the side of your body. But only do this if your sensations are below a 2. And if you try it and you realize that was way too much, just go back to where you were before. No need to push anything. I'm going to come out very, very slowly. You can let go of your arms if they were overhead, bring them down. If your leg was on top of the other leg, bring it down, and then slowly walk the legs to center, and then shift your upper body back to center again, and just stay here for a couple of seconds. And then we'll do the pose on the other side. So again, bend the knees, soles of the feet to the floor. Just shift your way back to the center of your mat. And lift your hips and just very, very slightly shift them to the other side. So if you did the left side like I did, shift them to the right. So you can straighten your legs in the diagonal towards the left side. Again, if this is enough sensation on the side of your body, stay here. If it's not, wiggle your way to the left side with your upper body to create the top portion of the banana or the half moon. Make sure that both glutes, both hips stay on the floor, the hips face up, you don't twist. And then place your arms where they're most comfortable for you. If you bring them overhead, maybe just gently grab your wrist with the non-working hand. That will give you a really nice opening into the right side. And although no props are required for this pose, if you need a pillow just to prop your head, have it somewhere nearby and use it if you need. And scan yourself. When we do these types of unilateral poses, or these poses that we do one side at a time, you get to see how different one side is from the other. We all have a side that is a little bit tighter. So if this is your case, don't worry, don't push yourself, don't be mad with yourself or with your body, just accept it, honor it. And just know that maybe you need to practice the pose on this side with a little bit more focus, and in time it will catch up. Remember that we're working with fascia, so it's that connective tissue that shapes us and shapes itself into the shapes that we spend the most time on. So in today's world, lots of sitting, lots of computer work and driving.
It's no surprise that our hip flexors are so tight, the pecs, the neck. Yin Yoga is a practice that targets that connective tissue, that fascia, and trains it to reshape, hydrates it. The more hydrated the fascia, the easier the movement, the more fluid, the less achy, the less stiff you are. But fascia responds to less intensity and longer holds, which is why Yin Yoga poses are held for such a prolonged period of time, and why we insist that you use props and take your time finding the variation of the pose that works for you. Come out very slowly, let your arms go first. If your leg was on top, bring it down, back to center. Then your upper body. Just stay here for a couple seconds. The last pose will be a bound angle pose. So have your props ready. If this is your first time doing it, you will love it. But it is one of the most prop heavy poses. So grab your blankets, towels, or a combination of them, and roll them up to make yourself a bolster. You can also do this with a body pillow or a more firm regular pillow. Do not use a foam roller. Don't use a foam roller. I will be mad if you use a foam roller. Don't use a foam roller. Make yourself a nice supportive pillow or bolster with some blankets, but no foam rollers. So make yourself a bolster, have a pillow to support your neck, and maybe some yoga blocks or more pillows or folded blankets or towels to support your legs. The legs are optional, but if you're going to do them, have that in place. So have everything around you ready to be tucked in. Come to the short edge of the bolster. Basically, you want it to start supporting you from about here. You might need to go a little bit lower or higher depending on your back, but it will create a bit of an arch on your low back, so just be careful. With your hands, lower yourself onto your bolster. For me, I need to shimmy a little bit up. There we go. Tuck the pillow under your neck, fully supported. You don't want your head to be way too far back, but you don't want it to be here either. Just a neutral neck. Now, you can keep your legs up like this to minimize the curvature that you have here on your low back. If you still feel like you're too lifted, just come out of the pose and take some layers off of the bolster. So you can stay like this, or you can straighten your legs in front of you, or you can bring your legs into a butterfly shape, right? So soles of the feet together, and then you can prop your legs right there with your blocks or your pillows or cushions or whatever you're using. This will create some external rotation, which can increase the arching on the low back. So go with your low back on this one. Whatever it says, listen to it. And then the arms can come out into a T shape. And if you're comfortable, this is where the 3 minutes begin. So what are we targeting here? Targeting the adductors, pelvis, the front line of fascia from the belly all the way to the neck, and then the arm line, so that pectoral fascia into the arm and the fingers. This is a great pose to do at the end of the day to undo all the curving and the rounding forward from sitting at your desk with improper posture, driving with improper posture. And it's a gentle way to open into the hip flexors as well. So stay here, and this is good for you. I'm going to come out to show you another variation of this pose in case this is too much for you. So if you're comfortable, you stay here. Make yourself a little square here, or rectangle, with your blanket, and you're going to lay down on it. Basically, you're going to put it like right at your mid-back, kind of like your bra line and up. You can have your pillow here too to support your head, right? You don't need it, but you can still get this nice opening across the chest, even with this variation. Okay? Basically, since your chest is lifted, your arms get to fall below it, so that's what gives you the opening across the chest. I don't often show this variation. I actually forget to show this variation, but I have come across some of you that do better with this modification, so I wanted to show you here. And again, your legs can stay up like this, they can go down, or you can bring them into the butterfly, whatever variation of the legs work for you. You can do it. And then again, when you're ready to come out of the pose, do so very, very slowly. Bring your legs up first. If you're using the blocks, take one out of the way. Roll to one side, and then use your hands to come up. And to finish, we'll do Shavasana. So we'll just come down, flat on our backs, straighten the legs, take up some space. Face the palms up to the ceiling or the sky. You can put a pillow under your knees here if you want to, or under your head, or both. And breathe and notice what this short session did for your body. Maybe some of the poses were a little bit more tough than others. That's okay. Just points you in the direction of what you have to work on, where there's more tightness in your body. But don't be angry at yourself. This is a journey of discovery and realizing that there are things you can do. You don't have to live with your tightness or your pain. There are things you can do always. So thank yourself for doing this practice, for giving your fascia much needed love and attention, positive attention. So I'll leave you here. I'll see you next time.